How many times have you wondered why some men seem to have natural magnetism, while others have to beg for attention? The truth is, attraction isn't born from money, beauty, or rehearsed lines. It's born from hidden triggers that few people understand. And herein lies the controversy. A woman's desire can be activated without her even consciously realizing why. It sounds counterintuitive, I know. But while many believe that winning over a woman requires exaggerated declarations and endless effort, in practice, the game is silent. Small, almost invisible gestures have the power to awaken instinct, emotion, and immediate interest. Most never learn this because they prefer to believe they need to prove their worth rather than let their presence speak for itself. Imagine walking into a room without saying a word and still feeling the eyes turning to you. It's not magic, it's the science of attraction applied strategically. When you understand the right triggers, the impact is inevitable. She feels connection, curiosity, and even desire before she even realizes what's happening. It's as if something inside her is triggered without apparent logic, and here comes the quick reward. You don't need to change who you are or memorize ready-made scripts. You just need to learn to adjust invisible details. Your gaze, posture, silence, confidence. It's as if you have access to a secret code that few know, but that works anywhere. And when you apply it, the result is immediate. The woman starts competing for your attention without you lifting a finger. Now get ready, because in the next few minutes you'll discover the little-known technique that triggers this immediate interest. And I'm telling you right now, once you realize the power of this knowledge, you'll never see interactions the same way again. Imagine how much a woman's instinct can be activated without her even consciously realizing it. Small, often banal actions awaken desire because they touch on deep triggers in the mind. A simple adjustment in posture, the way a glass is held, or even the rhythm of one's breathing can have an impact. The secret lies in understanding that attraction arises not only from direct words, but from micro-behaviors that convey power, confidence, and presence effortlessly. A man who knows how to generate this effect doesn't need to insist or beg for attention because the connection happens almost by itself. It's like when someone walks into a room and, without saying anything, everyone feels their energy. That's magnetism. The curious thing is that most of the time the woman can't explain why she started to feel interested. It's as if there's a mystery lingering, something hidden that intrigues her, forcing her mind to search for meaning in that unexpected reaction. These triggers can be subtle, like a firm gaze, a restrained smile, or even calm in a situation that would make others panic. It's in this contrast that desire arises, when behavior conveys dominance and security rather than insecurity. Imagine a scene where everyone is tense, but you remain calm. This attitude not only inspires respect, but also generates curiosity. After all, what makes a man react this way? Many make the mistake of trying to explain too much, of laying out all the cards right away. This rush and need for validation pushes people away rather than brings them closer. The female unconscious responds better to mystery, to space to imagine and fantasize. When she realizes there's no neediness, but rather detachment and naturalness, an irresistible feeling of needing to win their attention arises. It's as if the rejection of being always available creates a delicious tension. Ultimately, unconscious desire isn't about words, but about posture and micro details that trigger emotions without apparent logic. The game begins with subtlety, an unexpected move, a well-placed silence, a reaction contrary to what she expects. It's this contrast that plants the seed of immediate interest, and precisely there, space opens for something even more powerful, the power of gaze and presence. There's something almost hypnotic about the way a gaze can dominate a situation. It's not just about locking eyes with someone, but about conveying control, confidence, and magnetism with simple eye contact. When a man learns to calibrate the intensity of his gaze, it arouses instant curiosity because the emotion it conveys is absorbed unconsciously. A serene gaze with a firm posture creates a far greater impact than 1,000 rehearsed words. Presence also speaks volumes. Being physically in the same room doesn't mean being truly present. Presence is energy, it's how the body occupies space, it's the silent language of behavior. A man who moves slowly, without rushing, conveys security. However, someone who displays haste, insecurity, and disconnection evokes repulsion. That's why posture and attitude go hand in hand. The gaze captures attention, and posture reinforces power. A practical example. Instead of quickly looking away when she looks, maintain eye contact for a second longer and then smile slightly. This small detail triggers a woman's instinct because it shows control without aggression. It's as if you're saying, "I know what I want," without saying a word. This silent connection can generate desire even before the first conversation, as it touches on the most primal territory of attraction. Many men err on the side of overdoing it. They stare invasively or try to appear too intense, which creates discomfort. The secret is naturalness, a look that blends curiosity, mystery, and calm. This combination makes a devastating impact because it effortlessly conveys dominance and value. It's in this balance between attention and detachment that the irresistible feeling of interest emerges. After all, a look doesn't just communicate, it reveals hidden power. The most intriguing thing is that, when the gaze and presence are aligned, they create an atmosphere that attracts in and of itself. The woman begins to question what lies behind that energy, and this captivates her emotionally. This silent connection is the first step in activating the mind's game because it awakens in her the feeling that she needs to gain more of your attention. And that's precisely where the next secret comes in: the power of emotional scarcity. One of men's biggest mistakes is believing that being always available increases their chances of conquest. In fact, women's instincts react in the opposite way. When validation is effortlessly delivered, desire fades. It's precisely emotional scarcity that creates value. When you don't over-attend, you arouse curiosity because the emotion of conquest must be present for attraction to be maintained. This strategic absence creates an invisible impact. It's like having a rare jewel kept under lock and key. The harder it is to access, the greater the perception of power and value. The same happens with emotional presence. Not responding immediately, not showing neediness, not rushing in and out generates magnetism. The female brain reacts to this behavior as a challenge, and the natural reaction is to seek connection. This doesn't mean being cold, but learning to control your attention. A practical example: instead of always being available on your phone, choose moments to respond. If she sends a message within seconds, avoid responding at the same speed. This attitude shows dominance and control without needing to say anything. Insecurity arises precisely when someone is too eager, offering presence without criteria. Well-measured scarcity, on the other hand, sparks interest because it activates mystery and a sense of conquest. Many confuse this strategy with total rejection, but that's not the point. It's about balance, giving the right amount of attention so it feels impactful, but also feeling detached enough to avoid falling into the trap of constant validation. This contrast creates an irresistible emotional dance in which your every gesture carries weight. It's almost like measuring the seasoning in a recipe. Too much creates repulsion, too little creates disconnection, but the right amount creates desire. When emotional scarcity is applied wisely, it triggers a kind of automatic reaction. The woman begins to wonder, why isn't he so available? What is he doing? Who is taking up his time? This curiosity generates even more interest because her subconscious feels the need to decipher the mystery. And to further amplify this effect, another powerful trigger enters the scene: the subconscious language that activates emotions. Communication goes far beyond spoken words. There's an invisible language that acts directly on a woman's subconscious, triggering emotions before she even realizes it. The tone of voice, the rhythm of pauses, and the way certain words are articulated can create immediate attraction. The power lies in transforming an ordinary conversation into something that triggers desire, curiosity, and connection without her rationally understanding why. It's almost as if the emotion is programmed. Imagine, for example, when someone speaks calmly, slowly, conveying confidence. This simple attitude makes an impact because it demonstrates mastery of one's energy. The opposite, speaking too quickly, in a rush, conveys insecurity, neediness, and haste, which provokes repulsion. This is why the voice functions as a tool for emotional control. Those who learn to adjust their tone create natural magnetism and make a woman feel interested without conscious effort. A practical example is using intonation to guide emotions. When talking about something serious, lowering your voice slightly creates intensity and intimacy. When telling a funny story, increasing the tempo conveys energy. This vocal dance creates a powerful connection because it activates unconscious reactions. It's the same logic used by great orators. They don't win over people with information, but with the emotion their language evokes. The secret lies in training the body and mind to communicate power. Another detail is the use of strategic words that touch on values and instincts. Words that evoke security, strength, mystery, and conquest create an immediate impact. For example, saying, "I choose calmly" conveys dominance, while "I need this now" sounds needy. Small adjustments in vocabulary completely transform her perception of you. The female subconscious reads these subtleties and reacts by creating desire or disconnection. Ultimately, subconscious language is the key that separates those who merely talk from those who truly trigger emotion. It's as if each word is an invisible trigger, a spell that shapes perception without logical explanation. When used with presence and confidence, this communication creates instant chemistry, leaving a woman enchanted. And it is precisely in this silent realm that the most powerful attraction of all is born, that which comes from mystery. Mystery has an almost magical power within attraction. When a man reveals little about himself, when he leaves gaps that need filling, he awakens desire. The feminine instinct reacts automatically because the mind cannot tolerate emptiness and seeks connection to understand what is hidden. This behavior generates a profound impact because interest is not born from what is already revealed, but from what still needs to be discovered. It's like watching a suspenseful movie. The less you reveal at the beginning, the more curiosity grows. In the game of seduction, it works the same way. Talking less about one's life, limiting personal details, and maintaining a certain detached attitude makes a woman feel engaged. Instead of spilling information, a man creates magnetism by leaving questions hanging. Calculated silence has more power than an avalanche of words. A practical example: if she asks about your future plans, instead of telling you every detail, simply respond with a smile and say, "You'll find out in time." This attitude not only creates curiosity, but also triggers emotions of mystery, because her subconscious senses there's something valuable to be gained. This type of behavior conveys value and control because it shows that you're not seeking validation. Many people make the mistake of giving their entire lives away in one conversation, as if they need to quickly prove their worth. This rush comes across as needy and creates a disconnect, as it takes away the allure of the unknown. Conversely, When there's an aura of mystery, the feeling of layers yet to be explored emerges. This keeps the interest alive, as desire is fueled by the lack of immediate answers. Her instincts urge her to keep investigating. Silent attraction is devastating because it stirs the imagination. Every strategic pause, every hidden piece of information, every look that speaks more than the words themselves build an irresistible atmosphere. It's in this mysterious space that emotion intensifies, creating an atmosphere a woman wants to be in. And just as she feels this inexplicable energy, another, even more powerful factor emerges: the invisible trust that conveys security without a single word. Confidence is silent, but its impact is enormous. A woman senses in seconds whether a man is confident or hiding behind a mask. The curious thing is that it doesn't require long speeches or exaggerated displays. Simply posture, a calm tone of voice, the way he breathes or occupies space. This subtle magnetism arouses desire because it conveys dominance, power, and presence without the need for validation. Imagine a man walking into a room unhurriedly, greeting only a few people, but paying close attention to every gesture. He doesn't need to attract attention because his energy already does it for him. This tranquility creates an immediate connection, as women's instincts interpret it as security. Conversely, a man who displays haste or anxiety generates repulsion, as it reveals insecurity. Invisible confidence works like a perfume. You can't see it, but you can smell it. A practical example: when she asks a challenging question, instead of answering immediately, pause for a few seconds, look into her eyes, and only then speak. This simple gesture conveys control and arouses curiosity. Confident silence is worth more than 1,000 explanations. It's as if saying, "I know who I am, I don't need to prove anything." This behavior creates a profound impact, as the feeling of security is one of the strongest in the game of attraction. Many men make the mistake of trying to compensate for their insecurity by talking too much, laughing excessively, or showing excessive interest. This only highlights neediness. True confidence is minimalist. Less is more. It's the calm in your gaze, the erect posture, and the firm demeanor without being arrogant. This energy sparks interest because it demonstrates value and dominance, even when you don't say a single word. When invisible trust is perceived, something magical happens. The woman begins to feel lighter and more at ease. She feels she can let her guard down because she's found a man who exudes security. This unconscious emotion strengthens the connection and paves the way for something even more powerful: the mirror effect, which creates immediate synchronization in the subconscious and creates an irresistible feeling of closeness. The human subconscious is programmed to seek similarities. When a woman notices, even without realizing it, that her gestures, expressions, or posture are being subtly reflected, she feels an immediate connection. This phenomenon, called the mirror effect, is one of the most powerful triggers of attraction. It's not about excessive imitation, but about aligning energy, body language, and even small reactions, conveying natural harmony. Imagine she crosses her legs during a conversation, and a few moments later, you cross them too, spontaneously. Or she takes a sip from her glass, and seconds later, you do the same. These small details create magnetism because the brain interprets it as affinity. The feeling is that you share the same rhythm, the same emotional space. This sparks interest and reinforces the idea of a deep connection. A practical example: if she talks about something she likes, you can lean forward slightly, showing attention. If she smiles subtly, returning a small smile creates an unconscious impact. This behavior conveys trust and value because it shows that you're present and attentive without needing words to create a bond. The emotion evoked is one of closeness, as if you've known each other for a long time. Many men make the mistake of trying to force this effect, imitating everything like a robot. This creates disconnection and even repulsion because it conveys neediness and a lack of authenticity. The secret is naturalness, small gestures that flow with the energy of the moment. When applied well, the mirror effect creates curiosity as a woman begins to feel safe around someone who vibrates on the same frequency. This emotional alignment is irresistible. The most interesting thing is that this phenomenon opens the door to an even more strategic game: selective attention. While similarity creates rapport, a lack of attention creates mystery. This contrast, when used wisely, leads a woman to unconsciously compete for your gaze, your presence, and the validation you offer in controlled doses. Nothing is more powerful than offering the right amount of attention. When a man distributes his attention indiscriminately, it loses value because the feminine instinct senses there's no exclusivity. However, when he masters the art of selective attention, it creates an immediate impact. A woman realizes she needs to earn space to be noticed, and this sparks desire, curiosity, and interest. Control lies in strategically balancing presence and detachment. Think of a party. Everyone is laughing, chatting, seeking validation, but you calmly choose where to focus your energy. If you dedicate your full attention for a few minutes and then pull back, you create magnetism. The female brain interprets this as power and dominance. Conversely, when attention is given excessively and without discretion, the effect is repulsion, as the behavior conveys neediness, insecurity, and even haste. True attraction arises from contrast. A practical example: during a conversation, listen attentively, look into someone's eyes, make a pointed comment, and then change the subject or direct your attention to someone else in the group. This simple movement awakens a feeling of competition in her subconscious. She begins to think, why isn't he giving me his full attention? What do I need to do to win her back? This automatic reaction strengthens the connection and increases interest. Many men make the mistake of remaining glued to their partner all the time, as if afraid of rejection. This attitude conveys insecurity and ultimately creates disconnection. However, those who understand the importance of selective attention demonstrate value because they show they're not desperately seeking validation. It's a game of presence and absence that arouses intense emotion, creating an irresistible cycle of attraction. The magic lies in offering attention as if it were a rare currency. When a woman realizes it's not something easily bought, she begins to value every gesture, every look, every word. This silent power creates an unconscious competition within her. And when we combine this strategy with small, almost invisible details, like subtle micro-expressions, the effect on female desire is devastating. The human face speaks even before the mouth opens. Micro-expressions are those small, almost imperceptible gestures that convey real emotion. A slight smile at the corner of the mouth, an arched eyebrow, a lingering look followed by silence. All of these trigger unconscious emotions. In the game of attraction, these subtleties are worth more than canned phrases because they effortlessly arouse desire. A woman senses the energy, even if she can't explain why. Imagine you're at a bar. She makes a funny comment, and you respond with just a subtle smile, as if appreciative but not overdone. This small gesture conveys magnetism, confidence, and even a certain mystery. Conversely, laughing too much, gesturing too much, or reacting hastily conveys a sense of insecurity and disconnection. The impact is in control. The less you show neediness, the more you heighten her curiosity. A practical example: during a conversation, when taking a strategic pause, tilt your head slightly and smile softly. This simple movement creates an immediate female instinct, because it demonstrates presence and dominance. It's as if the micro-expression were a silent invitation, opening the door for her to feel interested. These calculated pauses activate emotion without the need for words, because the body communicates confidence. Many men don't realize the power of this detail and make the mistake of seeking impact only with grand gestures. However, instinct reacts more quickly to the subtle. Well-placed micro-expressions create an invisible magnetic field because they reveal controlled emotions. This control is interpreted as power and value. At the same time, it avoids the repulsion that arises when the reaction is exaggerated, demonstrating neediness and insecurity. When a man masters this silent code, he transforms any interaction into a fascinating game. The woman begins to lose herself in the mystery between the lines, seeking to interpret every gesture, every look, every pause. This emotional immersion is devastating because it creates an irresistible connection and immediate desire. And here we arrive at the final point of this journey: how to conduct a conversation capable of making her forget time and completely immerse herself in the experience. When a conversation is merely an exchange of information, it dies quickly. But when a man knows how to lead her to emotion, time disappears. A woman enters a state of presence so intense that she forgets to check her phone, loses track of time, and feels an irresistible connection. This is the true power of emotional immersion, transforming ordinary words into experiences that awaken desire and captivate with depth. This happens when he stops trying to impress and starts engaging. He doesn't just talk about himself, but asks questions that spark curiosity, that make her revisit memories, laugh at stories, imagine possibilities. This approach creates an impact because it directly taps into emotions. A woman's instinct doesn't react to lists of achievements, but to how she feels in the moment. Feeling alive, heard, and valued is what generates immediate interest. A practical example: instead of asking, "What do you do for a living?" ask something like, "What was the most unexpected moment you've ever experienced?" This simple shift activates connection because it transports her mind to exciting experiences. It's on this journey that desire is born, as she associates you with the good feelings she relived. This is magnetism. It's not about the content itself, but the energy awakened in the process. The mistake many make is to speak without pausing, to dump information, or to try to convince someone of their own worth. This creates repulsion and disconnection because it conveys haste and insecurity. Engaging conversation, on the other hand, is marked by rhythm, strategic pauses, light humor, and a touch of mystery. The person doesn't just listen, they participate. This creates emotional dominance because the man begins to guide the experience without the person consciously realizing it. When this immersion is well constructed, the woman leaves the conversation feeling like something unique has happened. It's as if she's entered a secret circle where time doesn't exist. This feeling makes her want to repeat the experience, seek more connection, and compete for your attention. It's at this point that attraction becomes inevitable and paves the way for the next step, the impactful introduction that will capture the viewer's attention and prepare them to dive into all this knowledge. Now tell me, will you keep repeating the same mistakes that drive women away without realizing it, or will you apply this knowledge and turn the tables in your favor? Because attraction isn't luck, it's not destiny, it's behavior. Every detail you learned here has real power: posture, gaze, presence, control, mystery, confidence. All of this awakens instinct, emotion, and immediate desire. But it only works if you practice. So think, how many opportunities have you missed by rushing, seeking validation, or letting insecurity overwhelm you? What if, starting today, you started using silent magnetism, selective attention, and micro-expressions? What would it be like to see women competing for your connection without you having to beg for anything? This is the difference between those who win and those who live trapped in rejection. My invitation to you is simple. Try it. Try it in your next conversation, your next date, even just a quick glance in your daily life. You'll be surprised by the reactions. And when you feel the impact, you'll understand that winning isn't about pretty words, but about how you manage your emotions, behavior, and attitude. The power is already within you. You just need to use it. And now I ask you, will you continue to be just another person in the crowd, or will you take control and awaken unconscious desire in any woman? The choice is yours, but remember, knowledge without practice is just theory. Life changes when you apply it. If this content resonated with you, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and keep learning with me. Because from now on, you'll never look at attraction and seduction the same way again.